If flying feels worse than it used to, you're probably not imagining it. It's not just social media, it's not just that you're getting older. Over the last few decades, airlines have fundamentally changed how air travel works. What once seemed simple no longer does, and most of these changes weren't about comfort, they were about optimization. Over the years, airlines didn't just tweak a few things, they redesigned the system to serve them better. One of the biggest changes is something simple. Planes are flying more full than they used to. According to the International Air Transport Association, global airline load factors in recent years have averaged above 80%. In the early 2000s, global averages were typically in the low to mid 70% range. A 10% difference might not sound that dramatic, but it means far fewer empty seats. Fewer empty middle seats, fewer half-full flights, less breathing room overall. Years ago, airlines were just much worse at filling planes. Pricing was less sophisticated, demand forecasting was weaker, and they were more willing to fly with empty seats. Today, airlines can predict demand far more accurately and sell almost all of those seats. So when people say, "I used to get lucky with empty rows," they're not crazy. Statistically, getting an empty row is just less likely now. That alone changes how flying feels. The second big change here is physical. Seats got thinner, and cabins got denser. Many narrow-body aircraft in the 1990s and early 2000s were commonly configured at 31 to 32 inches of seat pitch in economy. Slimline seats, first introduced in the 2010s, allow airlines to reduce pitch slightly while maintaining regulatory safety requirements. Add just one or two extra rows to a Boeing 737 or Airbus A320, and you increase revenue capacity significantly across an entire fleet. That's not accidental, that's design. And even a 1 to 2 inch reduction changes perceived comfort more than most people expect. It's the difference between having some wiggle room for your legs or being pressed into the seat for the entire flight. I'm about 5'9" or 176 centimeters tall. You can see these tight seating arrangements already box me in tight. But imagine someone even taller. Their experience is going to be, well, like the video title says, worse. So having less space for yourself on a plane pretty much guarantees a worse experience. But that's just a small part of why flying feels worse today. This one is huge. Basic economy as we know it today didn't exist at scale before the mid-2010s. Major US carriers rolled it out mostly between 2012 and 2017 in response to budget airline competition. In a lot of the world, you'll also see tickets sold as Economy Light, which are basically the same as Basic Economy. The main things that are usually restricted by Basic Economy tickets are advanced seat selection, boarding priority, changes and refunds, and baggage allowances. That includes carry-on baggage allowances in many cases. Even if the physical seat is the same as regular economy fares, the psychology is different. You're no longer just taking a flight, you're managing restrictions. When you board last, have to worry about overhead bin space, and feel restricted by what you can bring on board, the experience feels more stressful. That stress is by structure, it's not imaginary. Let me give you a hint though. It's all about money. Airlines used to bundle most services into the base fare. Now, nearly everything is unbundled. Global airline ancillary revenue, so things like baggage fees, seat selection, or onboard sales, has grown from under $10 billion in 2007 to well over $100 billion annually in recent years. That is not small growth. That's a structural shift in business model that caused airlines to earn over 10 times more by selling you what used to be free. Instead of one ticket covering most services, the base fare is now just the starting point. Everything else is designed to be added later, so the experience becomes a series of add-ons. One of the easiest ways to see this shift is with food on board. What used to be included, even in economy, is now often reduced or sold separately. On a lot of flights today, what you get for free is minimal, and everything else is part of that add-on system. Even if the final price isn't always that much different from the past, the process feels more transactional, and that changes your perception. Airline pricing has also become more sophisticated. Modern revenue management systems use demand forecasting, historical booking patterns, and real-time data to adjust fares constantly. Dynamic pricing isn't new. Airlines pioneered yield management back in the 1980s, but computing power and data inputs have dramatically increased since then. That's why fares can seem like they're changing all the time. And when travelers see prices moving unpredictably, it creates uncertainty. Uncertainty can also feel like unfairness, even when it's algorithmic. But still, in some ways, flight prices haven't just started to feel less fair, they are less fair. More and more airlines have been charging passengers higher fares for traveling solo than they'd pay if traveling as part of a group. You can think of this as a solo traveler surcharge. I first shared this last year when the practice started to become more common, and since then, airlines seem to continue charging solo travelers more. On top of that, many airlines have introduced AI pricing, which means the prices you see can be augmented randomly at any time. Not even by a human, but by artificial intelligence. This could even mean that you see a different price than someone else when you're both searching at the exact same time. Exact same flight, exact same moment, different price. This could be due to any factors that the AI pricing determines means you'll pay more or less. So airlines have changed seating and sneakily figured out many ways to get more of your money. There's still more to it though. Airlines today operate on tighter turnaround times to maximize aircraft utilization. Since 2008, higher aircraft utilization rates are standard industry practice. When flights are full, margins are tighter, and operations are optimized for efficiency, there's less buffer in the system. And when there's no buffer, small problems start to feel like big ones. That means fewer empty seats, tighter connections for crews, and faster boarding cycles. So all that together can make even a small delay feel amplified. In the past, if a plane had a mechanical issue, there was often a spare aircraft or an empty seat on the next flight 2 hours later. But in a system optimized to 85% capacity with back-to-back scheduling, there often is no next flight with space. One late arrival can now trigger a ripple effect of cancellations across an entire network. The system is so efficient that it's also become brittle. Again, optimization, at least from the viewpoint of some airline executives. Now, to be fair, not everything is doom and gloom. It's not all worse when it comes to flying. Most importantly, air travel today is statistically safer than ever. But that's not the only thing that's gotten better in aviation. In-flight entertainment systems are more advanced, Wi-Fi is increasingly available and getting a lot faster, airline route networks are broader and more accessible globally than in the 1990s, and online booking is dramatically easier than during the pre-digital era. In many ways, flying is also more accessible than it's ever been. But accessibility and comfort are not the same thing. So why does flying feel worse now than it used to? Because in a lot of ways, it is. Flying didn't suddenly decline. It became optimized, but mostly to serve the airline's own interests. Optimized for higher load factors, more revenue per passenger, tighter operations, and competitive base fares to get customers booking before looking too hard at all the extra costs. When you optimize a system hard enough, comfort is usually the first variable that shrinks. And that's exactly what's happened here. That doesn't mean flying is broken, but it definitely means it changed, even in some ways evolved. The thing is, once you really understand how flying's changed, you can navigate it better. That's why I've spent so much time creating videos for you that break down fare types, baggage rules, and search and book strategy. Because flying didn't get worse on accident. It was redesigned piece by piece to be more efficient, more profitable, and less comfortable for you. But the good news is once you understand that, you stop expecting the old experience and start playing the system as it actually works.